Well, hello, all my amazing friends. My name is SherriAnneDuffy-King, and I'm the author, writer of the Title of a Crucified Innocent series. That was my first book. My second book was Prince in the Mirror. My third book is Wyler's Water Dweller Secrets, and my fourth book was Epic Thorns of Destitute. Now, this is the fifth book of the installment called Puddles of Chaos. Now, I'm going to warn you that it's going to get graphic, alright? Now, just remember that there's a reason why all my books have rape scenes, alright? And it's not because I want to super torture these girls, but what it is that I want to show that, you know, that doesn't hold them back. They overcome that, and they grow stronger, okay? They don't dwell on it, but, they're fighters, and, all rape victims are fighters, okay? And they all need our support. And I'm not talking about the ones who say that they were raped but they really weren't, because I know girls like that. And I'm talking about the sincere ones, okay? The ones that that are really battling and having to deal with PTSD. So I wanted to bring a recognition to the fact that them, and then it's not just women either, men get raped too. But the thing is that, I mean, as a community, we need to come together and stop that culture, right? And, try to uplift each other's spirits and, show support, all right? Now we're going to continue, and this book is really graphic, okay? I'm just saying it now. But let me tell you something. When I get to book 7, shit's going to change, okay? But we got to finish 5 and then book 6. And then I can get to 7, and you'll understand. You'll understand what's going on. But I hope that you read the first 4 books. Otherwise, this isn't going to make sense, okay? This is Mina's story. Mina Cain Abel, okay? Now let's continue on. We're doing Puddles of Chaos, Book 5, Chapter 1, Summer of Love. Yeah. Let's go. Now, Mina enjoyed her bike ride around Belvedere, Vermont. The summer sun felt warm against her ivory skin, and the sweet, cool breeze felt energized as it whipped against her cherub face and through her huge, dark curls. Let me sit up. Sorry. I slide when I'm sitting. It's like my butt is made out of silk. I'm joshing, okay? Not about the sliding part. I slide no matter what. No matter what video I'm in, I'm always like, hold on, I gotta readjust myself. And they're like, really? You were that far laying down? Yeah. Started at the ceiling. Alright. Let's start over. I don't remember where I was. Mina enjoyed her bike ride around Belvedere, Vermont. The summer sun felt warm against her ivory skin, and the sweet, cool breeze felt energized as it whipped against her cherub face and through her huge, dark locks, or curls. As she rode around her neighborhood block, everything felt new and full of excitement. Mina turned her Magnavox bicycle around the corner, headed to her driveway. As she stopped her bike, she saw a huge white U-Haul moving vehicle sitting in her neighbor's driveway. Ooh. Mina became curious. She flicked her kickstand and hopped off of her bike. Mina made her way to the back of the vehicle. A huge box ran into her. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. Two blue eyes peeked over the top of the box, labeled Wessley's Toys. The boy blinked a few times, then said, "Stay right here. I'll be right back, okay?" Mina nodded and waited. The boy was out of her sight for a split second. Then he appeared before her with a huge grin. He extended his hand to Mina. "Hi, I'm Wessley. What's your name?" Mina was dumbstruck. A cold wind shuddered around her, bringing her back to reality. "Hi, I'm Mina. I'm 7. How old are you?" The boy's hand felt warm in Ina's cold finger. Or Mina's, not Ina. Mina's cold fingers. "I'm also 7. Want to play together?" I asked my mom if it was okay. She said it was fine. Mina smiled brightly. They spent a week together, every minute of every day. Summer was coming to an end, and in Belvedere, they loved to celebrate with fireworks the last evening of summer. The best place to go was Belvedere Pond. They played foot paddle their their animal boats and ate hot dogs. The twig Smith Bridge held the best place for Mina and Wessley to watch the fireworks as the sun crept away beyond the horizon. They held hands as the fireworks lit up the twilight sky. Mina smiled up at the beautiful explosion of colors. Wessley turned his head toward Mina, gently turning her face towards him. He gave Mina his first kiss. Afterwards, Mina touched her lips in pleasant shock. Mina, I know summer is ending. I was wondering if you would be my girl. Happy tears filled Mina's line of sight. She smiled and nodded. Oh, great! The fireworks ended as soon as they started. Mina was mystified. She loved Wessley deeply. He was her first love. Wessley and Mina rode their bikes home. Wessley walked Mina to her door, said good night as he pulled a lavender flower from behind his back. I love you, Mina K. Nabel. I love you with all my heart forever, and someday we will get married and live happily. We'll live together forever. Wessley gave her a kiss on her cheek and retreated home. Getting good, huh? 2 little kids, yeah. It's not graphic yet, okay. Chapter 2, Thunderclap of Distress. Mina's bed shook violently as a huge thunderclap shook her house in unison with lightning flickering across the dark clouds. Rain pattered heavily against her window. She climbed out of bed, staring out her window to Wesley's window across the yard. His light was flickering and someone was tossing his furniture in panic. Mina saw lights on the front side of Wesley's house. She clutched her blanket in fright, but she knew deep down she must go see if he was okay. She stepped out into the open patter of rain. The fog enveloped everything, even the dim lights of the emergency vehicles. In a trance-like state, she was being pulled toward Wesley's house. Many emergency personnel scattered around the house going in and out. It was a shock that none of the adults noticed Mina. Dressed in her long white night shift and barefoot, with big dark wet curls cascading around her cherub face. She gripped onto the wooden banister. The feel of the material was chilled to her fingers. The carpet was soft to her toes. She climbed the stairs. As she reached the top, she noticed that the hallway leading to Wesley's room was pitch black. Beyond the cracked door, Mina could see Mr. and Mrs. Harrow. Mrs. Harrow was crying hysterically as Mr. Harrow held her, comforting her sorrow. Mina almost was at the door when she heard a creaking of another door to the right side of her. Neon lights flickered in the restroom, catching her attention. She opened the door and walked in. The bathroom was so clean and white that Mina thought it could be a serial killer's bathroom. Too clean, too bleached. She turned right to leave and caught something in the mirror. It shocked her. She reached over to the stepping stool next to the toilet that belonged to Wesley's little brother. She picked it up and set it down next to the sink and climbed it. A chill ran up her spine as her breath came out like ice smoke. She leaned over the cold sink and placed her hand on the maroon bloodstain of a handprint. She pressed her fingers to the surface. The spot was hot to touch. As she wiped down, she noticed that the bloody handprint was on the other side of the glass. Behind her shoulders, she spotted 2 men, one who had pale hair and another with demon eyes and black hair. Their presence startled her. She stepped backward and fell into open arms. Mina screamed hysterically. Ready for chapter 3? Falling Angel. Mina sat up, screaming. The darkness still filtered through the air. She felt oddly alone. Tears welled up in her eyes. The dorm was still in slumber. Mina reached over and turned on her lamp. The soft light was a comfort to her. She reached over to her nightstand and picked up her journal. In it, she had pages of thoughts and worries on where Wesley Harrow was. He was her first best friend and her first love. News articles were taped to pages. The story went on and on, but he was never found. After Mr. and Mrs. Harrow were dismissed as suspects, They took the mirror and tossed it outside for the garbage man to pick up. Mina glanced over at the mirror, remembering how heavy it was when she went and retrieved it. She could not let the huge clue go to the dump. She needed to find Wessley. She held him in her thoughts all day, every day for over 10 years. She felt as though she were losing her mind. In Mina's heart, she knew after graduating Rosemont Peak Boarding Academy and getting through Belvedere University with a degree in criminal justice, she was going to continue to pursue Wesley's case and crack every clue that would lead her to him. Mina closed her journal, placing it back on the stand next to the light. She headed to the bathroom. Mina turned the faucet on the shower to hot, then climbed in and washed her worries away. After washing her hair, Mina turned off the faucet and reached around the shower curtain barrier and grabbed her huge green beach towel, wrapping herself before drawing the shower curtain and climbing out. Then she walked over to the sink. The mirror was fogged up from the steam. Mina grabbed the washcloth and wiped away the fog, then looked down to place the rag back. When she looked up into the mirror, behind her stood a tan blonde-haired boy of her age. He had sorrow in his blue eyes as he reached for her with blood-stained hands. Mina flipped around to look at the boy, but when she turned to face him, he was gone. All that was left of him was the blood droplets on the bathroom floor. Mina stood up and turned to the sink. She looked back to the mirror, and the fog was back. There were two colored sentences written on the glass. In maroon, it read, "Find me," and in dripping black below it read, "Run, he's coming for you." Mina grabbed the rag and wiped the mirror, expecting the mirror to clear up. When she wiped the fog, the writing was still on the mirror and on the inside of the glass, dripping down. Behind Mina stood another man, demonic eyes, black hair with the tips white. He had a sinister smile etched across his angelic face. He was shirtless. He wore a black leather jacket, black leather jeans, and black boots. He had a tattoo of glass shards across his right side. In each shard led a thorn vine that climbed to his right nipple, ending with a black rose. Mina turned around. The man was gone. Her heart was racing. He was gone. What was going on? She turned back to the mirror. The writing was gone. All that appeared before her this time was her reflection. Forest green eyes behind thick, dark lashes, pale lips, and tan skin. Her cheeks were flushed. Her cherub face looked unsure of herself, her thick, dark, big curls dancing around her head and down her arms and lower back. She walked back to back to her room, closing the bathroom door and flipping the light off behind her. She got dressed, then she picked up her phone, dialing her therapist. "Hello, Dr. Nicholas Williamson's office," Mina answered. "Hi, Dr. Williamson. This is Mina. I know it's early on a Saturday, but I needed to speak to you. I think I'm having an issue." It was quiet for a minute, then he spoke. "Okay, Mina, come on down. I'll help you this morning. See you in a bit." Then the receiver clicked off. Mina set it down on its base. She sighed in relief. Then she picked up her pills, taking her Zyprexa dosage. Mina grabbed her leather jacket and her helmet. She walked out the door, locking it before she left. As she reached outside, she hopped on her 1967 Harley Davidson. She placed her headphones in her ears, then placed her helmet on her head. Before she started the engine and her Pat Benatar album, Seven the Hard Way. Mina heard a faint phone ringing in the distance. She revved her engine and drove to Dr. Williamson's office. The building was dark except one lamp light in the front area. With relief, Mina descended her bike and opened the kickstand, then removed her helmet and placed it on the handlebars. Mina knocked on the front door. Dr. Williamson opened the door, ushering her into his office. Mina sat on the brown sofa, watching him get into his desk, then go over to the water cooler and fill the glass with water, handing it to her. "What brings you here, Mina, on an early Saturday morning?" Dr. Williamson smiled at her. His blue eyes were smiling. The light from the lamp showed he had dark brown hair with white streaks throughout his head. Under his glasses he had baggage. He looked like he hadn't slept for a long time, but he smiled as if everything was good for him. "Dr. Williamson, I've had another nightmare again. Then, after I took the shower, some crazy stuff has been happening to me. I think the medicine is no longer working. I'm so scared." He got up from his desk chair, walked toward her, then he sat next to her. Mina drank her water, then set it down on the coffee table in front of her. "Please, Mina, we have known each other for over 10 years. Call me Nicholas." Mina smiled, unsure of herself, but then got up to go. Dizziness overcame her. She quickly fell back into the sofa. The room was spinning. "Oh, Nicholas, I don't feel so well. I better get going." He reached over and felt her head. Then he helped her lay down. "No, Mina, you have a fever. You better stay and wait it out. I don't think it would be a safe option for you to drive home like this." Mina felt the use of her limbs go numb. On the other side of the coffee table, she saw the two men. The blonde reached for her, blood dripping from his hands, still sorrow filled his eyes. Next to him stood the dark-haired man. The words of Nicholas were fading in and out. The dark-haired demon spoke to Mina. His voice was like chilled silk. "You are mine." Both apparitions seemed to not acknowledge each other, as if they were on different plane of existence. "What?" Mina stuttered back toward the demon. "You heard me, Mina Cainable. You are mine, and I will take you now." A chill ran up Mina's spine. She looked over to Nicholas. He was pulling her to lay down on the sofa and undressing her. "No!" She tried to scream, but it came out a moan of despair. "Yes, I will have you." The demon retorted back to her. She shook her head. She had been saving her virtue for Wessley. He was her heart. Suddenly, Nicholas was climbing on top of Mina naked. The apparitions were gone. Then Nicholas froze. Mina could see her breath. Then Nicholas changed into a demon, smiling down at her. "You cannot fight this. You are mine, and I will have you. It was written." Mina, groggy, looked up at him. "Don't let him take my virtue. If you do, I will not be yours. I will be his notch on his bedpost. Please don't let him do this to me." The demon smiled. "You have a point." Then he disappeared from view. Nicholas was left. Mina could see behind his blue eyes there was a fight between his soul and the demon's, and the demon lost. Mina's heart sank. Nicholas returned, smiling down at her, unsure of what had happened. He lifted her legs apart and entered her. The pain was crude awakening to Mina's situation. She cried, unsure of what to do. Nicholas held her hands above her head as he continued to invade her flower, going deeper and harder, faster. He never let loose on his desire. Mina lay thinking of how to get out of this situation. The grogginess was fading. She had no idea how she was going to try to escape. She was a fighter, not a victim. She did the unthinkable. She lifted her head to catch his lips off guard. Nicholas released her hands, kissing her deeper. Then he lifted her to sit on him, letting her ride him. Mina kissed him deeper, pressing her left fingers through his hair, tasseling them. With her right hand, she reached behind the sofa to the table with the vase of daisies. She peeked and noticed that it was just out of her grasp. Mina felt despair well up in her heart. Next to the table, just beyond, stood the blonde-haired man. He was still sorrowful as he reached his bloody hand toward Mina. The vase started to shift toward Mina. Mina sighed. She lipped, "Thank you," and picked up the vase. With her left hand, she tightened her grip on Nicholas's hair, pulling his head from her lips. He moaned as he expelled his seed within her flower. Then his eyes flashed with surprise as Mina smashed the vase down upon his head, knocking him out. Mina unsaddled herself from Nicholas's lap. She was sore and felt like crying. Instead, Mina walked over to the phone and dialed the police. Within 5 minutes, they arrived. By then, Mina was fully dressed. Nicholas on the other hand, was sprawled out naked on the brown sofa with water and daisies scattered about his body. The police took her statement and then let her leave. Chapter 4, Unsure Saturday. Mina was still sore, straddled her Harley and kicked the engine on, and rode it toward the rising sun, headed to Donna's house. When she arrived, she parked her Harley next to Donna's early model 1987 Chevy Cavalier. When she picked up Donna, she realized that Riley had tried to get a hold of her this morning. That was probably Mina's phone that echoed in the distance. Mina brushed the thought from her mind and grabbed Donna up to get some new rags for the mass dance tonight. Donna had a way of brightening Mina's day. She had all but forgotten the horrible incident from earlier. As Mina and Donna arrived, the gym was packed with so many students the music was loud. Across the room, Mina noticed Arlene and Eliza dressed in pink chiffon matching dresses, with Tom and Taylor on leashes next to them. Mina wondered why Riley had ever bothered to hang out with those special rejects. Mina looked around. Riley wasn't at the dance. Donna had disappeared. Mina looked around. A lot of males were looking at Mina, but she was not interested in any of them. Only one boy held her heart. She wondered if he was alive, if he missed her as much as she missed him. Someone tapped her shoulder. She turned to see the beautiful eyes, the color of winter's first frost. She was in utter shock. The man lifted his palm to her, begging her for the next dance. Before she had a chance to change her mind and walk away, Mina was swept into warm, broad shoulders. He held her firm yet gentle. They swayed to a beautiful tune. The other dancers seemed to disappear. All that remained were this stranger and herself. He pulled her closer, kissing her neck and whispering in her ear, "Well, hello, my darling Mina Knable." His voice was like chilled silk that spun a web of unbridled desire beyond her senses. Mina tried to pull away. "Like Lucifer's beautiful queen, you are destined to be my one and only. I will never let you go. You are mine, and you will call sooner than later for me to rescue you, and when I come, I will take you home with me." Mina pulled back, his frosted gaze unnerving her. When the song was on its last note and the stranger was slowing his pace, Mina glanced over his shoulder to the table that held the refreshments. Once again, the blonde-haired man stood, same as each time. He lifted his bloody palms and pointed to the exit. "You will call me very soon, and I intend to collect what is due mine. You are mine." Mina turned her head back to him. This whole time he had spoken, she was polite to let him continue to converse to dead air. The eye contact caught him off guard. Her dark forest green eyes caught his frosted gaze. He bent to kiss her, but what he didn't expect was that Mina would shove him off of her and slap him across the face. "Never." And she walked out of the gym, a new song blaring off the speakers. Chapter 5, Fear Uncoiled. Mina stepped out of the double doors of the hallway. She tried to catch her breath. She belonged to no one except Wessley. She only wanted Wessley. Mina dreamed of Wessley. If things had been different, he would have been her escort to this masked dance. They would be having the time of their lives. "Wessley, where are you?" She sighed out into the chilled hallway. Out of nowhere, a figure shoved Mina into some lockers, then picked her up and pressed her hard against the cold lockers. It took her a minute to gather her thoughts. By the time her mind was clear, the person who was holding her against her will was ripping her panties off and holding her hands above her head. The moonlight from the skylight above glistened down upon the barbaric figure, dark hair with streaks of silver and gray. Mina was in shock. "Nicholas," she whimpered out. He smiled up at her. "None other than the one and only. I'm glad you remember. It was a nasty trick for you to bash me in the head and call the Belvedere Authority on me. Such naughty little minx you are. I had to explain that you tried to entrap me, and with your hallucinations and your violent tendencies, I just explained that you raped me. No matter what you say to the police or anyone, they will always believe me, and I will always have you. You are mine." Tears welled in Mina's eyes as she could feel the tip of Nicholas's penis enter her. It wasn't pleasurable, but unbearable. "Oh, Mina, you feel as tight as I remember, and so wet. I bet you would like me to go harder, seeing as you're mine, body and soul. So many times in the past 10 years, I've imagined entering you while you were lying across my desk, even so much so I imagined you fucking me back with vigorous lust, enjoying every thrust of my shaft in your tight, hidden flower. Soon we will have children, and this moment will be so much better than when I release my seed within you. Seeing as you just turned 18 this morning, I am legally able to thrust you whenever I want." Mina moaned in sadness. She needs to figure something out to escape. The blonde-haired man was back, pointing toward her. Mina wondered why he kept showing up and helping her out. Who was this young and sad, handsome ghost? His bloody palm pointed to her. Mina looked. Then she knew the best way to escape. She would have to play the fool to trick the fool. She kissed him hard, which made him thrust faster and deeper. He released her arms. Mina brought her hands down. Her left hand, she grabbed his hair. Her right hand, she dug her fingers into his back. He released his lips and groaned as he was about to plunge his seed into her flower. Then she clenched his fingers into his hair and pulled his head to the side to expose the skin of his neck. She bared her teeth and bit down on his neck, releasing a chunk from him. Nicholas dropped Mina. She stood up and spit his neck skin at him as he staggered, holding his neck, trying to regain his standing. Mina jumped up and tried to pass around him. Nicholas grabbed her ankle, pulling her to the ground. Nicholas started to pull himself on top of her. He was fixated on re-entering her flower. Mina pushed him off of her, then sucker punched him in the face. He groaned and growled. Mina climbed to her feet, leaving her heels in the hallway. "Mina, you are mine," he screams that. Mina kicked him in the gut. "No, I'm not yours. I'm Wessley's." Then she started to run down the hall, passing the double doors to the pool gym. She felt the breeze of the double doors opening as she ran. She continued toward the women's restroom, unaware that she was being pursued. When she reached the inside of the restroom, she turned and locked the bathroom door. Then she ran to the stall, locking the door as well. Mina huddled near the toilet, unsure of what to do next. All she knew was that she could hear a faint pounding on the bathroom door, and her name being echoed over and over again. She closed off her senses and stayed as calm as she possibly could. She remembered the man who danced with her. Those seductive eyes and angelic lips whispered that if she called, he would come and collect her. She didn't think she wanted that as an unforeseeable option. Why was everyone acting crazy around her? What could possibly cause this madness? She started to let her tears shed and pour down her cherub cheeks. Chapter 6, Different Light. Just moments before Mina had locked herself in the restroom, a buzzing noise startled Mina. She looked down at her pager. "Where are you?" It was a message from Riley. The message freaked Mina out. A wave of dizziness cascaded around and through her. Another buzz. "Open this door. I'm waiting for you." Mina opened the stall door. Glass and water were shattered everywhere. The pieces crunched under Mina's bare feet. Mina was in shock. Suddenly, a wind kicked around her and picked up all the water and glass. The glass reattached into one big mirror over all the sinks. The glass was chilled. Just kidding, it was the air. The air was chilled. Mina could still hear the faint echo of her name being banged on the door. Mina walked over to the mirror, touching it ever so gently. Beneath her hand appeared a red, blood-stained print. She moved her hand back from the heat. Behind Mina stood the blonde man. She turned around and was stunned. He was still there. He stepped closer to her. Mina could feel the heat from his body. She hadn't noticed before that he was wearing the same outfit as the demon, except they were polar opposites. This man had the same tattoo, and the tips of his hair were black. He inched closer to Mina. She stepped back. The mirror in this man was keeping her trapped. He pinned her, then he sniffed Mina's neck. Mina's hair stood on end as waves of goosebumps danced across her form. He did something so unexpected. He placed both of his bloodied hands on the glass, leaning into Mina, and took her mouth with his. Her body quivered. She had only had this spark with her first love. Then images of Wessley flickered through her mind. Every inch of his memories transferred to Mina. Mina felt the glass reshatter as her head was spinning. Everything went black. Chapter 7, Bueno Amore. Mina felt the kiss shudder so deep through her body. When she finally opened her eyes, everything had changed. She was no longer where she thought she was. The boy held her in a cool embrace. Mina was unsure of what to do. Mina, I have been waiting to touch you for over a decade. He stepped back, releasing her from his grasp. Why are you doing this to me? The boy smiled at her. You don't remember me, but in this world, time moves differently. I have watched you grow at every stage of your life. I've seen so many different paths for you, but what he has done to alter your future is unforgettable. Givable. I cannot stop him alone and keep you safe if I am ripped in two. You were supposed to find me, and then we could go home, but he escaped, and I haven't been able to stop him. He has traveled through time, trying to find a way to get to you and make you his. He cannot see me, but I can feel him, and if I was able to get close enough, I could fix this epic disaster that has befallen me. I just wish the demon Kit Morte could fix me, but with your help, we can stop him. Mina stepped back. Who are you? The boy combed his fingers through his hair. I don't know. All I know is that he has stolen my reverse identity. I am really not sure why I am split like I am. Can you help me? Mina stepped further back from him. Maybe if she helped this boy, the other men would stop hurting her, and maybe if she was lucky, she could find Wessley. We have a deal, but I need your help to find my soulmate afterwards and help me get home and alter time to fix my virginity. I want Nicholas and that demon to stop hunting and hurting me. She reached her hand toward him. He smiled and grasped his hand around hers. What should we do? The boy's smile brightened, his frost eyes twinkling in the deep void of the room they were standing in. We must trap him. Mina listened to him, then asked him to take her to where the demon was. What should I call you? Or what should I call you, seeing as we are to become friends? The boy looked down and then back up to Mina. H. Mina let go of his hand. Your name is H? The letter H. Capital. The boy took in a deep breath. Yes, that is all I can remember of what is left of my name until we beat him. Mina shook her head. Nice to finally know your name, H. Then H lifted his hand up and tapped it upon the darkness. When Mina looked up toward his hand, it looked like he had tapped his fingers in water. The ripples danced around his extended hand. The ripples vibrated in majestic colors. Then a portal opened. On the other side of it sat a huge bed and a table and wooden chairs. Mina stepped through. She had no idea how to entrap the demon. Chapter 8, Entrapment of Amore. Mina was finally alone from H. She knew he was near, but watching patiently. She walked over to the armoire, grabbing the handles and slowly edging it open. Inside sat a beautiful dress. She picked the material off the hanger and laid it out on the bed. The dress was a beautiful dark silk green, almost as if it was pulled from a Tim Burton fairy tale. It was so eerie. Mina slid from her prom dress, noticed a bucket of steaming water by the window. She climbed into it, then began to scrub at her body and wash her hair. The lavender and citrus aroma was intoxicating. Then she climbed from it and grabbed a soft white towel. Afterwards, she climbed into the gown on the mattress. It was very comfortable. Mina slid on the black lace slippers and left the room to roam her surroundings. She ended up in a largely lit throne room. No one was around except one solitary figure sitting on the throne. Mina approached with caution. The figure was slumped over, with his face firmly planted in his open palms. Mina cleared her throat. Excuse me. I am lost and I need help. I'm sorry for bothering you, Your Highness. The figure sat up and looked toward Mina. Oh, you are here. If you are here, then that means I need to be there. Mina was confused. What do you mean? Who are you? The figure stood. His dark locks and deep blue eyes were stunned. that Mina was clueless. The man stood up, smiling devilishly. I apologize. My name is Kit Morte. Mina stepped back a little bit. You're him. You can help me fix H. Kit's eyes dropped to the ground, then flipped back to Mina. He was taken back that she stood, unable to be intimidated. If I help you, can you help me? Mina reached her hand toward him. You have a deal. Kit smiled, grasping her hand, tipping it to show her open wrist and blue vein. His lips pulled back and his canines grew. He bit down on Mina's flesh. She surpassed a moan of anguish. Before she realized what was to come next, Kit pulled away from her maroon flesh, her blood dripping into an open flask. Then Kit sprinkled some black dust over her wound. Within seconds her flesh healed and the pain was vanquished. Dearest Mina, I split H from W. It was the only way I could bribe Queen Bristle and Aneo. But if you want to fix them and heal your past, present, and future, you must trap W. Then, during the throes of passion, will he be fixed. And I have to leave to rescue my soulmate. She is waiting for me. He mixed the black magic dust with her blood, throwing it upon a large standing mirror across the room, or across from her. Mina watched in horror as Nicholas Williamson was trying to rape Donna, her friend, because he couldn't get to Mina. Mina stood next to the mirror, watching as Kit rescued Donna and carried her toward safety. With a sigh of relief, she stepped back into another person. Their arms wrapped around her, turning her swiftly. She looked up to frosty blue eyes. Silence filled her mind. Before Mina had time to think, his lips engulfed her. Then he pulled away from her. Chills crawled up her spine. When he exhaled, a frosty fog escaped his lips. Mina found it strange that her lips did the same thing. Wow, I never expected you to find yourself here. I never expected you to find yourself here. I was looking tirelessly everywhere for you. I thought I had lost you, Mina. But we are one, and now you are mine. Mina felt cold inside. She knew that she had to trick W into going to bed with him. He led her to his bedchambers. He winked at her. Mina remained silent as he started to take off his leather jacket. He kept his eyes on her, unable to waver from her. Why me? Mina asked. He stepped closer. His gaze was heated. You don't remember, do you? I've waited a decade to be with you. You are my soulmate in every sense of the meaning. The only way I could make it back to you was to split myself in half to appease Aneo. I could feel you searching for me and wondered if I was looking for you as much as you were searching dead ends for me. With a snap of his fingers, Mina's dress vanished, leaving a black silky night shift. Mina had to take control of this situation fast. What do I call you? He looked at her. My name is W. She feigned a smile. Well, lay down, W. I would like to play a game. W looked at her with bewilderment. Then he laid on the bed. Mina tore at her dress, using the strips of silk fabric to secure his bonds. Then she climbed up near him. Then she started to stroke his shaft. His blue eyes closed in enjoyment. Is this what you have wanted from me? He moaned in excitement. Mina, yes, I have yearned you for so long, watching you from the shadows. Please let me enter you. I yearn your flesh. Mina closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. She had to finish what she had started. She removed her black night shift and slid her leg over his secured body. She felt his thick and gorged shaft slide into her tight flower. She was surprised at how wet she was as she rode him, and the intense sensation that crawled over her skin. He felt different than her demented therapist. He felt intoxicating, as if fireworks exploded around her. She reached down and consumed his mouth with hers, her hands holding tight against his. She closed her eyes, imagining she was making love to Wessley. Oh, how she missed him. He was her real soulmate, not these crazy lunatics. She swore she would find him. Mina pulled up from W. His eyes were demonic and twisted in possessive pleasure. Mina felt a chill yet heated pulse shoot from her palms into his. She prayed this had worked. The bond snapped and his hand pushed from hers to her waist as he thrust harder and deeper and faster. He sizzled and popped off of her form. He sat up, grabbed her mouth, and pulled her closer to his chaos. Then he flipped her beneath him and continued to consume her body and soul. The passion roared on throughout the night into the next morning. Mina was exhausted. W finally pulled from her and laid next to her, his arms wrapped around her naked and vulnerable form. He was different. Had H returned to him? Was everything settled and on the right track? W nuzzled his lips against Mina's bare neck, releasing pure passion and goosebumps. Mina tried to push the thoughts from her mind. The sun began to rise. To her astonishment, it wasn't one sun, but two. She sat up and turned toward W. The light danced across his frosted blue eyes. He looked different, but she was unsure in what way. "What is your name?" He sat up, smiling at her. "You know who I am. I'm W, and now that you help me consume my split self, I'm more powerful than ever. Oh, why the long face? You didn't know that I would dominate him? If you had made love to him, then he would have been in control of us. Yes, you can thank Kit Morte for the misinformation. I was destined to rule over H." Mina tried to slide out of bed. She felt unsure of what to do. Had she really helped the bad guy? She just wanted to help H and then return home and get everything fixed and on track. W grabbed her by the wrist, pulling her back toward him and using his weight to hold her pinned beneath him. "Don't worry, you are getting everything you have wished for. I am finally whole and you are finally mine." Mina could not hold her frustration any longer. "No," she screamed that, okay? She screamed at him. Her hysteria was covered up with his mouth. He used his free hand to open her legs and re-enter her, going fast and harder, deepening his shaft within her. When his lips released her mouth, Mina turned her head to look out the window as she lay in shock, staring out the window. W went longer, knowing the happiness of his conquered quest. Mina closed her eyes and fell asleep. Her body was broken, her mind was reeling. As I'm reading these dirty parts, my son has big headphones on, so he can't hear me. But my husband can. The only way to escape was to fall into slumber. Her dreams were chaos, darkness, and fog enveloped her. Ahead stood H. "H, how do I bring you back to escape? How do I bring you back and escape?" H smiled at her question. "Seek the mirror, dive through, and expect to make a sacrifice that only few have endured." Then H disappeared, leaving Mina in questionable darkness. Chapter 9, Passages of Time. The light from the water planet Eldor danced across W's room. Mina slid from his grasp. She was sore, unsure if she could count on a dream to help her escape, but since she has been in this castle, she has only seen one mirror, and it just so happened to be in the throne room. Mina gathered her clothes and tiptoed toward the throne room. She stood in front of the enormous mirror, noticing the black Gothic design hugging the glass. Mina touched the surface, unsure of what she was to do. She placed both her palms against the glass, closing her eyes and resting her head. Suddenly, beneath her palms, the surface began to increase in heat. Mina removed her palms and opened her eyes. On the other side of the glass sat two bleeding handprints. Mina smiled at herself, then whispered, "Thanks, H." She backed away from the mirror to the black throne, using the material to slice both of her palms open. The pain was unbearable, but if it helped her escape, then she would try. She started to run toward the mirror, praying that this would work. She slammed into the surface of the mirror. It bent to her will, pulling her into the void. Out of nowhere, W grabbed onto her wrist, falling into the darkness with her. "Get off of me." W smiled, the darkness devouring her. W smiled, and then the darkness devoured her. Chapter 10, Mysteries Unraveled. Mina felt sore as she opened her eyes. She was in a cavern. Sand and stone surrounded her. She stood up. Her flesh on her hands was healed. Ahead of her was a door. She walked toward it, placed her open palms against the rough surface. Then she began to push. Behind her she could hear a voice that sent chills unhinged through her body. "Don't. Stay with me. We are meant to be together. Mina, you are my soulmate." Mina glanced over her shoulder, anger written across her face. My soulmate is Wessley. You have tortured me to your full amusement, trying to break me in every way humanly possible. I feel like behind this door will lead me away from your unwavering chaos. Then she pressed harder against the stone. A bright light blinded her and pulled her into a better place. Well, that's the end of that. What happened to Mina, Riley, and Donna? They each went through a door and got sucked into the light. Oh, man. Well, guess what? There are going to be 3 more books. The SherriAnneDuffy Rewind book what? Book 6 Part 1, Book 7 Part 2, and Book 8 Part 3. Alright? And then I also have more that are coming that are going to revolve around my world because I love Ambala and Eldor. It's like my favorite place. Because who doesn't love mermaids and water planets, right? Oh, and also, if you wondered what castle they were in, well, you see, when Evie disappeared in that globe with Iolus and was found in Book 3, the whole castle of Iolus's, the Black Castle, was bare. So Kit Morte moved in. Just for a minute, anyway. Nobody knows he's really there. He's just using the space. There's nobody else there. It's barren. And mainly because everybody else kind of got freaked out that both princes disappeared. Or kings, right? Now, and that was after the big siege of Book 2. Now, I love you. Thank you so much for listening to me. My name is SherriAnneDuffy-King. And guess what? I will see you back here for Book 6. SherriAnneDuffy Rewind, Book 6, Part 1, alright? That book will continue with what's going on with Donna, right? Alright, I love you all. Have a great day. Bye.